Spider-Man has more villains than every single comic book character ever. Ever! Look at all of these villains. What's crazy is how incredible so many of these guys truly are. Some of the most memorable characters you're ever gonna see. Outside of Batman, it's not even comparable. No other superheroes even in the realm of talking about. But who is Spider-Man's nemesis, right? We see all of these bad guys. Who is number one? Who is the ultimate enemy of Spider-Man? Shit! That's kind of hard. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of these guys did some pretty messed up stuff to Spider-Man. Dude, Doc Ock banged Aunt May. He banged Aunt May. That's permanent scarring right there. Seriously though, out of every single Spider-Man villain ever, who is Spider-Man's nemesis? Let's start off listing the villains that are at least iconic enough to be household names. Everybody should know these guys if you're a Spider-Man fan, right? You've got Vulture, Doc Ock, Rhino, Chameleon, Lizard, Electro, Scorpion, Green Goblin, Kingpin, Hobgoblin, Sandman, Mysterio, Venom, Shocker, Carnage, J. Jonah Jameson, Kraven, and Moreland. I know a lot of these characters really aren't going to be considered the nemesis, but it's important to have at least like a diverse list of characters to choose from. I personally think this is a very diverse list of selection, but if you think so, that I missed somebody or some multiple people, leave a comment down below, okay? Let's make a case for each villain and then determine if they deserve to make it to another round of considerations. Vulture. He's actually Spider-Man's first superpower villain, but he's really just trying to steal and rob stuff most of the time. Sometimes you'll find him trying to get younger as a storyline. That comes up sometimes. One time he even teamed with the Owl and managed to actually kill Spider-Man briefly before Doc Ock resuscitated him back to life. But honestly, that was more of the Owl's doing. It wasn't really the Vulture's doing. This man is definitely not the nemesis. Doc Ock. Honestly, we all know Doc Ock is moving to the next round of consideration, guys. I'll give you something, though. I won't leave you with nothing. Doc Ock bodied Spider-Man in his first appearance to the point that Spider-Man contemplates quitting being a hero. Doc Ock formed the Sinister Six as well. He's the OG leader of Spider-Man's hate club. Not a fan club, the Sinister Six is the official haters club. We could also talk about how when the Owl nearly killed Spider-Man, Doc Ock resuscitates him and talks about how it wasn't fitting for him to go out like that, and Doc Ock and Spider-Man are intertwined in destiny to go on forever battling each other, so he shouldn't have died there. That's why Doc Ock saves him. This is godlike. This is worthy of the nemesis, and he's moving on to the next round of consideration. Rhino. Rhino does not have the beef with Spider-Man to be his nemesis. Let's be honest, people. Rhino is one of Spider-Man's most understanding villains, and he himself is a victim. When Rhino is given an opportunity, he breaks bad and becomes a good guy, until evil drags him back down. But he's almost never outright trying to end Spider-Man's lineage or anything. Rhino and Spider-Man have had far too many heartfelt moments together. He is not the nemesis. Chameleon. Spider-Man's first ever villain. Yes, that's correct. This is the first villain to ever show up in Spider-Man comics. Chameleon isn't just defeated though and we never hear from him again. Dude constantly is a thorn in Spider-Man's side, even without much powers. At one point, he even creates life model decoys of Peter's parents. That's creepy. And honestly, that's Nemesis stuff. He's moving on. Lizard. Much like Rhino, Lizard is a victim of poor judgment. Kirk Connors wanted to heal his missing limb by using lizard DNA in hopes it would regrow, but it turned him into a lizard. But hey, at least he regrew his limb back. This man is most certainly not a nemesis. Spends a very good amount of time asking for Spider-Man's help or just blatantly working with Spider-Man. That's not a nemesis. Electro. Stop it. This man is corny as hell. He's a petty criminal who can shoot electricity and at times he becomes pure energy. His head's not in the game though, guys. If you can shoot electricity and you can become pure ionic energy, how are you losing all the time? Electro's like a basketball prospect with all the talent in the world, but he can't focus enough to use it. Beasley ass. This man is definitely not the nemesis. Scorpion. There's a real time when Scorpion had some serious claim to being Spider-Man's nemesis. He is the original Dark Mirror to Spider-Man. This is what happens when someone of Spider-Man's powers goes rogue. Choose a life without responsibility, and you'll get Scorpion. However, Scorpion just doesn't live up to the title long enough. He becomes Venom for a bit, and then a dude wearing Iron Man armor trying to kill Venom. But he's definitely not Spider-Man's nemesis. He had potential at one point, but he's not the nemesis. Green Goblin. Guys, come on. He killed Gwen. He killed Gwen! He moves on to the next round. Kingpin. This big man may have some claim. And when I say big man, I mean big. He was constantly a thorn in Spider-Man's side in the early years, and he was even able to tussle with Spider-Man, being physically superior to Spider-Man at a certain point. When we talk about Kingpin fighting Spider-Man, we're talking about Spider-Man, who, has beaten Planet Busters before, losing to a guy whose superpower is just being very fat. Kingpin ordered the hit on Spider-Man that ended up killing Aunt May, which caused Spider-Man to do the whole one more day thing with making a deal with the devil, and now we've been in Spider-Man hell ever since. But yeah, killing Peter's Aunt May gotta get you to the next round at the very least. Kingpin, moving on. Hobgoblin. The man who took over the Goblin moniker and in my opinion stole the show and is the best Goblin is sadly not Spider-Man Nemesis material. He is just too focused on himself. He has his own goals. He's really just trying to make his bank account bigger and his wallet fatter, his pockets fatter. He doesn't really give him much of a shit about Spider-Man at that point. Hobgoblin has fought Peter Parker Spider-Man before, and he's made it known that he's really just trying to make money. He's not trying to do something too strenuous without the pay being worth it. He's super badass and one of the all-time best villains, but he's not Spider-Man's nemesis. Sandman. This is like for sure Spider-Man's most understanding villain. The man cares for people and he really doesn't want to see a lot of innocents getting hurt. He's really trying to take care of his sick daughter. And unlike this alternate universe moment, the dude Sandman and Spider-Man are kind of bros. Sandman even becomes an Avenger at one point. He's definitely not a nemesis, guys. Mysterio. Mysterio may have some cool dramatic effects, but he himself doesn't really do enough cool and dramatic shit to warrant being called Spider-Man's nemesis. He's had very awesome moments where he affects a larger part of the Marvel Universe, but that doesn't make him Spider-Man's nemesis. He even had a great run in Daredevil, but that doesn't make him Spider-Man's nemesis either. He is not the nemesis. Venom. The character that literally nearly scared MJ to death in his very first appearance. The character who nearly killed Spider-Man several times over and Spider-Man had to fake his own death to get rid of him. Yeah, he's out of the first round, people. He's moving on. This is the stuff of Nemesis. Venom's moving on. Shocker. LOL. Maybe in the 60s, but no. Just no. He's not the Nemesis. Carnage. I mean, based on the way Carnage alone strikes fear into Spider-Man and has Spider-Man like literally reconsider everything he stands for as a superhero, that is some Nemesis vibes. Carnage is also strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man on his literal worst day. He kills indiscriminately, yet for some reason he constantly finds himself hurting those close to Spider-Man as well. Definitely moving out of the first round. J. Jonah Jameson. Jameson had Spider Slayers and his face on the front of them. That's some real hater man. The early years of Jameson were insane how hard he hated on Spider-Man. Dude was against him on everything he had the opportunity to be against him for. He's going to move out of the first round because of his early years just being that much of a monster, but his later years may come back to haunt him in the next round. We'll talk about it. Kraven. Kraven the Hunter definitely sees himself as Spider-Man's nemesis. Kraven constantly makes it his life goal to kill Spider-Man and prove that he's the ultimate hunter. Off this alone, I think he's got to move to the next round. Many of the characters on this list don't hate Spider-Man enough to be the nemesis. Kraven does. Morlun. This dude hunts Spider-Man characters down by the dimension, and when he got to Peter Parker Spider-Man, he wasn't able to do it. He wasn't able to do it multiple times. 3 attempts, he still wasn't able to do it. An immortal character hunting down Spider-Man through the multiverse? That's some Nemesis type beat. Gotta move him out of the first round. First round was tough. I know a lot of people are probably going to be upset with me because I've got rid of a lot of fan favorites, but you gotta be honest with yourself. Electro is not the nemesis. You may not like Morlun, but Morlun has a much better claim to being Spider-Man's nemesis than someone like Electro or Shocker. Shocker! Let's go over who made it out of round 1. Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Chameleon, Kingpin, Venom, Carnage, J. Jonah Jameson, Kraven, and Morlun. We're going to trim the herd a bit, okay? Rule some of these goobers out. It's pretty obvious a lot of these can't be the nemesis. We just want to move them on because they earn the right to move on. But let's talk about those who are now going to be eliminated. Chameleon. Outside of being Spider-Man's first villain and like being like life model decoy boy, he doesn't have much claim to the title of Nemesis. He doesn't do much else to Peter personally, and it's not like he kills Peter's parents or anything. He just makes robot decoys of them to try and trick Peter. Chameleon is not the Nemesis. Kingpin can be ruled out for sure. As he becomes more of a Daredevil villain, he's less focused on Spider-Man. Spider-Man also now outclasses him like tenfold, so they don't even have physical encounters that like, would actually make sense, really. Kingpin is too focused on being a player in the entire street level side of Marvel to be focused on just Spider-Man. So Kingpin can't possibly be the nemesis either. Venom hasn't had a vendetta for Spider-Man in like a decade, maybe even 2. It's hard to be the nemesis for a character when like you spent like 15 to 20 plus years not hating him anymore and kind of working with him. Venom maybe could have been the ultimate nemesis of Spider-Man, but when Marvel saw the dollar signs of good guy Venom, that ship sailed. Venom was never going to be the nemesis once they realized how profitable he would be if they made him a good guy. But he could have been. J. Jonah Jameson. Much like Venom, J. Jonah Jameson doesn't hate Spider-Man anymore. Actually, he works very closely with him, and has for a bit. He knows Spider-Man's secret, and he chooses to believe in Peter. This can't possibly be a nemesis, people. It just doesn't make sense. And then lastly, Kraven. Kraven killed Spider-Man for 3 weeks before Spider-Man's love for MJ pulled him out of his own tomb. Some real beautiful shit here, if I'm going to be honest. Kraven, however, claims he, won. Spider-Man pulled himself out of his grave. Kraven claims that he won. Like a sore loser little brother who finally won a single game of Smash Bros. And then Kraven kills himself. He's like, look, I won. You're never going to get to play me again. You're never going to fight me again. I'm the winner. Kraven's Last Hunt is a godlike story, but this is like the most he did to Spider-Man. And he really should have ran it back to prove that he was the victor. Honestly, he's taking the cheesy route. Like, wins, offs himself. He's like, hey, you can't ever fight me again. I won. It's, okay, Kraven. Okay, buddy. We are left with the final four. Doc Ock, Green Goblin, 2 OG villains. Carnage, my favorite. And Moron, the newest villain to appear on this list. We're going to drop people one at a time from here on out, okay? I am comfortable dropping Moron off here. His whole thing is he hates Spider-Man, and you know he's trying to kill him. And only him, since he's the only Spider-Man you could never beat. But that kind of gets old when you never beat him. Spider-Man always comes out on top. That doesn't happen against these other guys. He always has losses against these guys in some way or some facet. Morlun, you're not Spider-Man's nemesis, buddy. I'm sorry. We have the top 3, and to remove someone from the top 3, next it's Carnage. Carnage, you're going to be in 3rd. The fact that Spider-Man compromises so many of his morals when Carnage is around speaks for itself. However, he doesn't really kill anyone close to Peter intentionally to mess with Peter. He just killing because he likes killing, right? He does have his moments in, like, It's a Wonderful Life. But outside of that, do any of these moments really trump what Green Goblin and Doc Ock have done to Spider-Man? Come on. Lastly, Carnage is also pretty deep in Venom's Nemesis territory. And it's hard to be someone's nemesis and somebody else's nemesis at the same time, okay? Carnage, you are not Spider-Man's nemesis. So we've got Doc Ock versus Green Goblin. Who is Spider-Man's biggest hater? The Spider-Man nemesis. Doc Ock formed the Sinister Six, and he beat Spider-Man so bad he thought about quitting. He also banged Aunt May, and he tried to marry Aunt May. He resurrected Spider-Man, who was seemingly dead, just because he felt he wasn't given the poetic ending Spider-Man deserved. Green Goblin killed Gwen. Green Goblin killed Ben. Green Goblin pretty much caused the death of Harry too by pushing his son to go too far. Norman Osborn drugged up Flash Thompson and made him drive wasted. Doc Ock banged Aunt May. Norman banged Gwen Stacy. And she had his kids, who aged rapidly and then tried to kill Spider-Man. And then this whole thing had like a half-assed retcon that barely even makes sense or works. Green Goblin's a sicko. And honestly, some of the writers at Marvel are too. That doesn't mean Doc Ock isn't sadistic either. Doc Ock freaking killed Spider-Man and took over his body. Peter had to see the memories of Doc Ock banging Aunt May. And then Doc Ock jerked it to the memories of Mary Jane and Peter banging each other. This is even creepier. Where I will point out some differences is Doc Ock admits when he's wrong. At the end of the Superior Spider-Man run, he admits that Peter Parker Spider-Man is the Superior Spider-Man. Overall, they both have some serious claim for the title as Nemesis. For me, the biggest nemesis in Spider-Man history is Green Goblin. He hates Spider-Man and Peter. Doc Ock, however, feels as though he has some shred of respect for Peter, and he really just detests Spider-Man. Green Goblin, he's trying to ruin both of their lives. He does not care. This is just my opinion, though. If you disagree, you can comment down below and let me know what you think. Tell me what you liked and disliked. Subscribe to the channel. Join the Discord. I got a freaking link posted in the description below. Chat with me on there. And if you really enjoyed this stuff, you should purchase a membership. Support. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Dunk out. Peace.